Got to put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Richard Schulman and I were just listening to that saying we were getting happy. Well, welcome this morning, the second Sunday, 3 Sundays before Christmas. It's just really kind of hard to believe that. But we want to welcome you for joining us wherever you're coming from. Today we are lighting a second candle in celebration of Advent. Advent from the Latin adventus, meaning the arrival or the expectation. It's we look at the arrival of Christmas, but in Unity it's really about an awakening and even a deeper sense to the truth of our being. Last week we lit this first candle, which was for hope. Today we light the second candle, which is peace. You know, teachers of peace come from all different places, and one of my favorite is Peanuts, the cartoon. There's this cartoon caption where Charlie Brown, who was running full speed ahead, stops and turns around, and he looks at Lucy and he says, "Wait a minute, hold everything. We can't carry on like this. We have no right to act like this. The world is filled with problems and people hurting, but it's Christmas. Remember, peace on earth. And if we children can't resolve these relatively minor problems, what do we expect?" And then all of a sudden, Lucy interrupts Charlie Brown. She hits him with a quick left to the jaw, knocks him out, and she says, "I had to hit him quick. He was beginning to make sense." Well, peace is sensible, but peace is far more than a sensibility. It is a fruit of the Spirit, a natural byproduct of our spirit. And we're going to be talking about that today. And what is it that we can do with our energy and our effort that helps move anything out of the way that would allow this spirit of peace? So as we begin this time this morning, I'm going to invite you to join me in a prayer. As we turn our awareness within, we do so today in the spirit of peace. Peace is something that we long for in our life, in our mind, in our heart. We desire peaceful relationships. We desire peacefulness in our home, in our neighborhood, in our communities. We desire peace in our nation, and we desire peace in our world. And if peace really is a fruit of the Spirit, then what can we do that will allow this peace to become more evident in our heart and in our minds, and thereby in our relationships and in our world? Today we open to the gift and the spirit of peace, and for this sacred time together, we are truly grateful. Thank you, God, and so it is. Again, I want to thank you for being here this morning. I want to thank Richard Schulman, our music director, just an incredible man, as well as a beautiful artist, for being here with us. Tia and Acela in the back, and then most importantly, all of you. A shout out to some of our new viewers from Canada who are joining in with us, and wherever you're coming from, we want to thank you for joining. As we kick off today, we're going to go back in time to a service that we had around the holiday season last year, where Cat Williams and our Unity Band is singing a Daniel Nahmod song, "Get Ready, My Soul, I'm Diving In."
Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest part of love, to the sweetest part of life. Get ready, my soul. Everything I've ever done, everything I've ever seen, everything I've lost or won, everything I've ever dreamed has brought me here to this present moment, here to this new beginning, here diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the steepest part of love, to the sweetest part of life. Get ready, my soul. Here I go, deeper, deeper, deeper than I've ever been before. Here I go, deeper, deeper, deeper to my sacred source. And here I go, deeper, deeper, deeper than I've ever been before. And here I go, closer, closer, closer to my sacred source. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest part of love, to the sweetest part of life. Get ready, my soul. Get ready, my soul.
Yeah. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Thank you, Kat, and thank you, our Unity Band. Thank you for joining us today as we dig into what is this peace that passes all understanding. You know, the Christmas message says, "Behold, I will bring you glad tidings of peace, peace on earth, goodwill toward all." Well, to begin, I want to take us back in time to Christmas Eve, 1968. That Christmas Eve impacted and affected really everyone on Earth. On that Christmas Eve night, the first humans were orbiting the moon in the Apollo 8 mission. And astronaut William Anders turned away from the moon and took a picture of the Earth from space. His now famous photograph is called Earthrise. We want to show you an image of that, Earthrise. And it was the first time that we could see our home, Earth, as this tiny blue marble, suspended in space, surrounded by darkness, and part of this much bigger universe. That picture of Earth evoked a sense of wonder and delicacy, a perfection and a vastness in which we live. Astronaut William Anders said, "We came all this way to explore the moon, and the most important thing is that we discovered the Earth." You see, in that moment of us being able to see our home, many of us had grown up with those old pull-down maps, and we just seen this flat surface. But when we could see that image of Earth in this beautiful blue marble, in the midst of stars and galaxies, what happened was, rather than Earth being just taken for granted as the ground upon which we walk, what happened on that evening was it sparked a relationship. That one image, it was actually during that time, and as a result of that picture, that Earth Care and many of the movements that were leading us to be in a different kind of relationship with our Earth took place. But this relationship with the Earth and the relationship with this incredible creative presence, this harmony and balance that held all of that in order. And so it impacted a worldview. And scientists and theologians really could agree and can agree that there is a creative force. There is a creative something that is at work, that is at play, that is behind all creation. That this creative force that is holding that beautiful blue marble in its perfection and in place, that creative force is an intelligent force. And it is the one life force, it's our force. And so when it sparked, that idea of being in relationship with our earth, of being in relationship with this creative presence, being in relationship with one another, and being in relationship with ourselves with a new perspective, with a perspective of wholeness, with a perspective of harmony, and with a perspective of balance. That is the meaning of the word shalom. Shalom, shalom is perfect peace. And the scriptures talk about a peace that passes all understanding. Shalom, true peace, is when the individual is in that state of relationship with all that is, that holds it in a place of reverence and balance and harmony. It's wholeness. It's about personal integrity and all things flowing from that. And I believe that the writer of, or the writers of Ephesians chapter 4, these words that are almost poetic, these individuals must have captured a sense of this kind of majestic cosmic oneness when they wrote in Ephesians 4, "Be humble and gentle, be patient, bearing one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. We are all part of one body. We have the same Spirit. We have all been called to the same glorious future. For there is only one Lord, one faith, one baptism. We all have the one God and Father or Creator who is over us and in us and living through every part of us." Isn't that beautiful? There is one creative presence that is over us, that is in us, and that is living through every part of us. Well, shalom, peace. Today when we talk about this peace, that I bring good tidings of peace, Jesus was referred to as the Prince of Peace, not because he brought peace, but because he demonstrated peace. He had a mastery of peace that people noticed, that stood out. And we're promised a peace that passes understanding, that even when the mind can't comprehend, it doesn't mean that you still can't have peace. So all of these things are what we are called a fruit of the Spirit. A fruit is a natural byproduct. And so our spirit, which we call the spirit within us, that perfect spirit, the Christ spirit, there's many other names for that. The Atman, the divine spark. But this perfect spirit within us, that attributes of our spirit, as we talked about last week, are hope, and this week are peace. That peace that is born of being in right relationship with the creative presence, being in right relationship in our energy and with our efforts. It's about being in such right relationship that there's a personal integrity, that when we are doing that, there is a peace that will flow through that. So we want to look at that today. A Course in Miracles says, "The peace of God is everything I want. The peace of God is my one goal, the aim of my living here, the end that I seek, my purpose, my foundation, my life." That to be at a state of peace is really to be in integrity. It's to be in that state of harmony and wholeness, and to have things flow from that. Now, it's important as we jump in and start talking about peace to really begin to understand, what is this shalom peace? What is this fruit of the Spirit peace? Quite often when we think about peace, we think about the absence of. like if we had absence of noise or chaos or absence of certain people. I saw a sign on the way to church that said, when this pandemic is over, I still want some of y'all to stay away from me. It's like that we feel like sometimes if I could just get all this stuff under control, I would have peace. And while we certainly, that's a good, a good thing to try to create peace in our midst, but peace, true peace, is born from an inner state. That this peace is not merely the absence of conflict or the absence of disturbance or the absence of certain people that I like to say sometimes are sandpaper for our soul. Peace is also not about suppressing and pretending. That's like the difference in be nice and being kind. You don't pretend. Kindness flows from true love. And so peace is not suppressing or pretending that there are not problems. Peace isn't about keeping status quo or don't disrupt anything. That's not peace. That could be suppressing, and that could actually be creating more harm than to be in integrity. Peace is not an excuse to avoid dealing with what needs to be done, even if it's messy, even if it appears to be painful. You see, peace is being in integrity. It is doing what is highest and best. It is seeking to be in right relationship. And so if there's one word that today and this week I'm going to ask us to begin to equate with peace, it's right relationship. And right relationship sort of from the Buddhist perspective. Right relationship from the Shalom definition of peace. It's about being in right relationship with our own integrity, with one another, and with the creative force of the universe. The importance of that right relationship. In 1987, there was an experiment that took place in Arizona. Some scientists embarked on this experiment where they were trying to replicate Earth's ecosystem. And they wanted to do it in this closed ecological system, so they created what is called a biosphere experiment. This huge glass dome was constructed in Arizona, and everything was put in that glass dome that was supposed to replicate Earth because they wanted to study what keeps it in balance and what enables Earth to thrive. And so the scientists lived inside of this biodome for 2 years with everything from Earth. But for a couple of reasons, and one primary reason, the experiment didn't work. And what they discovered is that, as it turns out, they forgot one thing. They forgot wind. That they created this perfect biodome, if you will, but they didn't have any wind. And without wind, the trees were not growing properly. They did not realize that the tree, in order for a tree to fully develop and mature, it needed some wind. And without the wind, it would not develop what is called its heartwood. I love that because it is through sometimes the winds of life that we discover our strength, that we discover our heartwood, that we discover that within us that is bigger than anything outside of us. And so sometimes when we start to think that, gosh, if I could just get all this stuff straight, I'd have peace. Well, it doesn't mean that we don't work on making things better, because we do. But it means that the way to peace is the way of peace. It's about finding that perfect balance of right relationship, just like seeing Earth in a new eye, a new perspective, that there's a dynamic right relationship that is going on in which we live and move and have our being. So today when we talk about peace, we want to look at how do we direct our energy and our efforts to cultivating and keeping this right relationship that naturally allows peace. And there's, I'm sure, hundreds of things that we can do, but today I want to focus on three primary things that come through a lesson with Nelson Mandela. The three things, if we really pay attention to these three things and how we direct our energy and how we direct our effort, I believe you'll find your life to be much more peaceful. So a little bit about Nelson Mandela. Of course, you're familiar with who he is, but he had a habit many people didn't know about except all those who worked with him. Nelson Mandela was absolutely resolved, and he made his own bed every day, no matter where he was, and he traveled a lot throughout his life. Well, one of his workers that traveled with him shared a story about a time they were in Shanghai, they were in China, and Nelson Mandela was making his bed like normal, but it was upsetting the host. And so his inner team went to him and said, Mr. Mandela, the Chinese custom is that they serve their guests the food and they make the bed of the guest, and so it's insulting them that you're insisting on making your own bed. And he said, well, I don't want to insult anybody. Please bring them here and let me talk to them. And so he brought them the ones that were serving the food and making his bed. Through a translator, he explained that it was not an insult, but that he needed to make his bed every day, because he said, this is about right relationship for me. Because when I make my bed, I also make up my mind as to how I will direct my energy and my efforts this day. And that it is the first thing I do to direct my energy and to direct my mind for personal responsibility. They were able to understand why he did what he did. And some of the things that he did, and three that to me are really powerful when it comes to how will I direct my energy and how will I direct my efforts that will bring about a state of right relationship between me and my soul, between me and my neighbor, between me and the whole, between me and all that is. Well, these three things are framed this way. I direct my efforts and I direct my energy so that I will carry no worry or no resentment. I will do no harm today, and I will make no excuses today. So the first one, I will carry no worry or resentment today. I will carry no worry or resentment today. That doesn't mean that you don't have cares or concerns. We have cause for concern. We have things that can weigh heavy on our heart. The question is, do those things help align us to be in right relationship, to affirm the truth? Do those things help us to pray more, to meditate more, to do good works, to do our highest and best? Or do we carry our worry and our resentment so much that becomes the focus of our day? So he began in directing his energy and directing his efforts by saying, I will carry no worry or resentment today. Think about how it would feel for you if when you made up your bed every morning, if you also affirmed to yourself, I will carry no worry or resentment today. I'm going to lay it down on the altar of love, that every time it comes up in my mind, I'm going to use that to come into alignment with the truth. Marty Stimmerman, our director of operations here at Unity, shared a story with me this week that is circulating on Facebook, and to me, it really touched me. It's a true story of a woman named Rachel Macy Stafford. And Rachel wrote this. She said, in an especially chaotic rush out the door to go on a family vacation, I sat in the passenger seat fuming. Mad because I didn't have time to put the dishes in the dishwasher. Mad because we were late getting on the road. Mad because the garage door was acting up. I'm talking trivial, insignificant, minor inconveniences here. But that was the state of a distracted woman who could no longer see the blessings, only the inconveniences of her life. Before we were about to pull out of the driveway, my husband looked as if someone he loved had died. And in a barely audible whisper, he said, "You're never happy anymore." I wanted to defend, to excuse, to deny, but I couldn't because he was right. Where had that happy, playful, peaceful woman gone? That's when I glanced into the back seat to see if my children, then ages 6 and 3, had heard my husband's words. Staring back at me was my 6-year-old daughter, picking at her lip with worry, the size of a small boulder weighing down on her shoulders. As she pinched the tiny piece of fragile skin on her upper lip with wide eyes, I could practically read her mind. Mom's mad, Mom's tired, Mom's stressed. But there was more. I could practically hear how a young child would interpret her mother's unhappiness. Mom's mad at me. Mom's tired because of me. Mom's stressed because of something I did. And that's when an even more powerful question hit me. Where had my happy little girl gone? Because my happiness had become based on external measures, on the task being completed, on things running accordingly, on goals being met, on hairs being in place. Well, I was continually disappointed and upset, impatient and stressed. And in the process of making my own life miserable, I'd funneled my unhappiness straight into my daughter's once joyful heart and spirit. Her pain was a direct reflection of the expression that I wore on my face. I desperately wanted to bring the smile back to my daughter, and I knew that I had to do something for myself if I was ever going to help her. I had to become more positive, more present, and more peace-filled, like I had once been in my life. So she goes on to talk about, she made the commitment right then and right there that she would begin her days with prayer. You see, that is, she made the commitment to align her energy and her effort that I will carry no worry or resentment today. I will care, I will show up, but I can't carry that and keep discharging that. She said that in her prayer time, it's like every day these ideas would come to her. One particular phrase that was very powerful was, only love today. Another one was, see flowers, not weeds. And she began to write these affirmations and put them around, and she saw them, and her daughter saw them. Well, little by little, over a course of time, as the months went by, as months became a year or two, she found herself back that happy, joyful, positive, peaceful woman. But she said it really struck her one day when she was doing dishes and she looked out and she saw her daughter just digging and planting some seeds kind of in the middle of the yard. Prior to then, she would have been upset because it wasn't this perfect spot. But she just loved it, and she took a picture of her daughter in all her glory in the dirt planting seeds, and she sent that picture to her parents, to the mom's parents. And she said it really moved her when the parents responded back and said, thank you for this precious picture of our beautiful granddaughter. Over the last 2 years, we've seen a tremendous change in her. We no longer see a scared look in her eyes. She's less fearful about you being upset or impatient with her. She's much happier and more relaxed. She is thriving and growing into a content, creative, and nurturing, peaceful child. We know for a fact the changes we see in her coincide with the changes we have also seen in you. She said tears began to stroll down her face, and she was so thankful for that wake-up call that enabled her to begin her days with, where will I put my energy? Where will I put my effort? That I will carry no worry and no resentment. I'll spend some time aligning and bringing myself in right relationship with the truth of my being. So I will carry no worry. I will carry no resentment. The second one is, I will do no harm today. Now that's a big one. Can you imagine if every person on the face of the earth got up and made our bed, washed our face, brushed our teeth, and said, I will do no harm today. I will hold myself accountable, peace on earth, goodwill. I will intend and aim for goodwill, the highest and best toward others and toward myself. I will do no harm today. Can you just really, we would have heaven on earth, a utopia, if we all did that. Well, I have begun to hold myself very accountable to that, and I had a real lesson 2 years ago. Every year, typically, I teach a sacred abundance class. It's a 7-week class where we usually have a large turnout and a number of people. We go through these ideas that are leading us to a sense of sacred abundance and being in right relationship with the flow of life. Well, one of the activities that we were doing during that 2 weeks is everybody in the class was given $10. And the assignment was that sometime over the next 2 weeks to pray about it and ask for guidance, that you're going to use that $10, give it away, whether you literally give a $10 bill to someone or whether you use it to do something for someone, but ask for guidance and notice how you feel with this whole process. So I too was doing that in the class, and I had my $10, and I was in meditation one morning about what should I do with my $10, and I saw an orchid. Now, I love orchids, and I actually had an orchid in my home at the time, and I saw an orchid, and then I clearly had this impression, take an orchid to your neighbor. Now, the reason that was so interesting is because the neighbor I was guided to take an orchid to, I live in a subdivision, and there was only one house that I would not have enjoyed taking an orchid to, and of course, that's the one I'm guided to take it to. This couple, and the husband in particular, was known throughout the neighborhood as a grouch. He would shoot his BB gun at the other neighbor's cat. He's the kind of person that if I passed him in the grocery store and said, hi, he would not even look at me. And so there was just this kind of yuck feeling. And one day I had taken out my trash and recycle, and the wind got some of it and blew it into his yard. And he came over and knocked on my door and was really sort of in a nasty spirit saying, your trash is all over my yard. And I said, well, thank you so much for letting me know. And I looked at him and I said, I trust you know that was an accident. Yeah. And so after this had happened, all of this, that's when I'm guided, take an orchid to that neighbor. All right, so I take my $10, I get my orchid, and I go over to the neighbor's house and knock, ring the doorbell, nobody's there. As I'm walking back to my house, another neighbor says, oh, they left early this morning. They've gone to Florida. They're going to be gone for several weeks. And I said, thank you, Jesus. I don't have to take that orchid. But I knew in my heart that was not true. And so I prayed about it. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And I just had the sense that I would know that if the orchid still looked like something you'd be proud to give to somebody, I would take it. If the orchid looked like basically a stem, I wouldn't be taking it. I had no idea how long they'd be gone, but I tell you, for every day in my mind, I went over there. So I took that orchid mentally many times. But this is what I realized. I like to pride myself in a person who thinks that I would harm no one. But what I realized through that exercise is I wasn't having thoughts of goodwill. You know, I was sort of buying into, he's the grouchy neighbor, and he did shoot his BB gun at another neighbor's cats. I mean, there were some behaviors that were not good. There were things that were displayed that were not good. But I had to get right in integrity within me. And through that practice, something shifted that something released. I can't tell you what it was or how it happened, but through that practice, something released. And honest to God, I just didn't have the same kind of feeling that I had. Well, weeks later when they came back, there was nothing left on the orchid, so I knew I wouldn't take it over. But the day they came back, I happened to be near my mailbox. I waved, and they waved. For the first time ever that I ever recall, they waved. And then within a couple of months after that, they put their house on the market and left. And so I'm not sure what that's about, but that's how that story unfolded. And so when we say, I will carry no worry and no resentment, the second is, I will do no harm today. And I mean really hold ourselves accountable. Richard, would you give me that song? That peace is about being in right relationship. Am I in integrity? Can I truly hold goodwill? Am I truly holding the highest and best for all? Or am I, the third one is, I will make no excuses. I will make no excuses means it involves honesty. That if I'm making no excuses, I'm needing to be truth-telling. If I'm making no excuses, then I'm not making you or it the matter with me. If I'm making no excuses, then I'm not trying my highest and best. You see, that's a big one. If we could, I will carry no worry nor resentment today. I will do no harm today, and I will make no excuses. I truly believe we will begin to know that peace that arises from being in right relationship. Last story, another true story, I will make no excuses. There was a young man who had a lot of very positive breaks in life. He came from a well-to-do family, had gone to a great school. His dad helped him get a job, and he was a top executive, and he had just got another car, a brand new BMW. And he had that car, and he was going to find this place, and he had to cut through this neighborhood, and he was driving a little too fast through this neighborhood when all of a sudden, boom, something hit his car, and he looked, and he saw a kid that had clearly thrown something at his car. So he slammed on brakes, and he pulled over and headed to that house, and the little boy is not even trying to hide. He's like waving his arms, and he's like, "You little jerk, what are you?" And then he hears the kid saying, Mister, help, help, help." And he went a little bit closer, and the little boy said, "Something's wrong with my mama, something's wrong with my mama. She can't get out of the car." And so he saw, sure enough, the car door was open, and there was his mom having a seizure. And so all he needed to do was he got her down on the ground, and he called 911, got her down on the ground, and he was trying to console the boy. The ambulance comes, neighbors come out, and he waited until they left with the mother. The neighbor took the little boy, and he started walking back to his car. And he hadn't even looked at his car, but when he got to his car, sure enough, there was a little ding where the boy had thrown a piece of a brick, actually. And there was a little dent. It had knocked off the paint. And he said, in that moment, I made up my mind, I will never get this fixed. Because God helped me, it served as a wake-up call. He said, I have been speeding through life. He said, I've been riding on the coattails of others. I have been blaming people for things in my life that I haven't even been trying. He said, I'm going to leave that to remind me to be jolted out of any time I'm showing up in any way less than my highest and best. That something, he said, shifted in him that day. That it's as if he saw the earth, he saw his life in relationship to others, to his resourcefulness through the gifts that he had. He saw his life in relationship, and he genuinely wanted to be in right relationship. I will carry no worry or resentment today. I will do no harm today. I will make no excuses today. My goal is to be in right relationship with personal integrity, with the creative force of my being, the God of my being, the grand overall designer of my being. To be in right relationship with this beautiful earth, with my home, with my neighbor, with myself. And so there's a song by Karen Drucker that says, I lay it down on the altar of love. That's what we're going to do in this time of meditative prayer together. I lay it down. I set it free. I let my heart rest. I let it be. I lay it down. I set it free. I lay it down on the altar of love. Any worry? Any resentment, any harm, any excuses, I lay it down. I set it free. I let my heart rest. I let it be. I lay it down. I set it free. I lay it down on the altar of love. I invite you to close your eyes if it's safe for you to do so. I will carry no worry. I will carry no resentment. That requires that I pay close attention to what worries me. It requires that I pay attention to what is behind my resentments, my feelings of anxiety, dislike, And it's not that I ignore those feelings, but it's that I own them. I take responsibility for them. And I seek to be in alignment with the truth that says there is an inner resourcefulness within me. Guide me in knowing how to respond. There is a presence of peace and love and wisdom within me. Guide me in knowing how to be in right relationship with whatever it is that is causing this. Help me to know that I am held just as this beautiful blue marble is held, that my life is held in the context of all that is, and that I am whole. And so I lay it down, and I'm not going to carry worry or resentment. I'm going to feel that which carries me. And I will do no harm. I will hold myself accountable as to what causes harm. When am I doing things that are hurtful or harsh? When am I holding something in my heart other than goodwill toward all? And what is it that would keep me from being able to hold genuine goodwillfulness and good thoughts toward another? And I'll pay attention to those things that I do that undermine my own wholeness. That I will harm none. I will do no harm. And I will make no excuses. I hold myself accountable to knowing the truth, to being honest, to speaking truth even when it's not easy. But knowing that love is in that truth, integrity is in that truth. I will make no excuses and allow things or people to keep me from doing my highest and best. I will make no excuses. So I lay it down and I set it free. I let my heart rest and I let it be. I lay it down and I set it free. I lay it down on the altar of love. There's an integrity and a peace, a freedom that flows from that. If it's safe for you to close your eyes, Richard is going to just feel this energy of all of you and reflect that back to you in a soul song, a song of peace. set it free. I let my heart rest. I let it be. I lay it down. I set it free. I lay it down on the altar of love. Carry no worry or resentment today. Will do no harm today. Will make no excuses today. Lay it down. Altar of love. That, my friends, is the right relationship that leads to inner peace, peace within, and thereby peace without. Thank you, Richard. That was beautiful. I want to thank you for being here. Again, I want to thank Richard and Acela and Tia for being with us on sound today. I want to thank the little Christmas elves that were out here Friday, Christy and Elisa and some others that were here, our board of trustees who came in on Friday, and we're doing some folding and mailing. There's just been a lot of activity around. If you've not driven by the church lately, you should come by. It's really looking very nice. Where it's done, we're down to the flooring. We are going to go over and above a little bit and go ahead and get our flooring changed because we really need to do that. And so I want to thank you for your gifts and your giving throughout this entire year. You've been incredibly faithful, and it's absolutely a result of every individual doing what is yours to do. So we want to thank you for that. I just want to remind you to check out our website. There's some exciting things going on. We have a number of services coming up that will all be live streamed. We are not having any indoor services until the COVID situation is in a better state. On the 20th of December, which is the Sunday before Christmas, any of you that are in the area, come by. Richard and our band are going to be outside from 11:30 to 1. We're going to be singing some Christmas music. Our singers, our band will be here. Pat Cardwell, some of the others that you don't necessarily hear from all the time are going to be here with us, sharing some Christmas music, the Christmas spirit, and you can pick up your holiday services kit, which will give you what you need for the Christmas Eve service, for a New Year's Eve service, and then for the first service in 2020. So again, I want to thank you for being here. We're going to kick it off, we're going to wind it up, I should say, by stepping back to last year when Geoff McBride was with us and Mary Kay Williams singing a song through the holiday season. So thank you, have a wonderful week, and we'll see you same time next week. 1, 2